Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here, and you are welcome, my friends. I think any YouTuber with over 100 subscribers has a responsibility in the way we talk about this film. I think we have to be constructive because a lot of people look to us, look up to us, maybe they look down to us, but we're a little bit known. And I think people care what we think. I hope they do anyway. And I think it's important we talk about the right issues rather than shooting our mouths off just because we're angry. So the first question I want to ask you as subscribers or people who are randomly watching this video, and if you're randomly watching it, please subscribe, like and share. I thought I'd add that in. Why the hell did this film need 2 directors? That's a serious question, and I've watched many reviews. I've heard a lot of people talk about this film. I've heard a lot of people talk shit about this film, right? Both ways, whether they're being positive or negative about this film. But you tell me, why did this film need 2 directors? Shall I answer my own question? It did not. This film, no film in the modern era needs 2 directors. So we've got a female director and we have a male director. Why? Well, apparently they come as a twosome. It doesn't make sense to me. Wonder Woman was directed by Patty Jenkins, right? One woman who barely directed anything, by the way, had very, very little experience, but showed Warner Brothers, and they admitted this the other week, the way to make DC movies. Wow. Woman, no experience, knew what she was doing, was put onto the film because she knew what she was doing, and she made a bloody damn good movie. So why these 2 directors? Why not one? Listen, I'm not one of those people who thinks female-led movies need a female director, but hey, it's a good thing to do. There's not many female directors in mainstream Hollywood. We need to get good female directors in there, don't we? So it's a good thing, especially if they're good directors. That does help at the end of the day. I just don't understand why they picked these 2. This film is directed like a TV movie, right? I would say I've seen better directing on the Arrowverse, definitely on Daredevil, and those Netflix shows are really well directed and the production values are awesome. So what I kind of suspected when I saw this film was a dumbing down of the MCU. I would imagine the budget of this film is a lot cheaper than a lot of the others, but obviously they spent a lot of money on making Samuel Jackson and Coulson look really young, and that CGI is beautiful. It really, really works. This film has a few themes in it that are undercooked. So you've got this idea where Captain Marvel, is it the Skrulls? Sorry if I've got the names wrong. Sees them as these dangerous villains, but then they claim they're just refugees. They just want to be with their families. I think that's very different to the comics, by the way. I've seen a lot of videos, and Marvel fans, Marvel comic fans, I'm not talking about MCU fans, because MCU fans and Marvel comic fans are 2 very, very different entities. So there's that. There's also this theme of Captain Marvel, right, being put down by men. It happens a lot. You can't do this. Girls can't do this. There's a lot of that bullshit going on. Sorry about the swearing, but I'm a very everyday type of guy from London, right? I'm here in Cyprus, but I'm from London originally. And we talk like this, right? But anyway, so you've got all this stuff, and it's like, wow, you really don't know what you're doing, do you? You want to inspire young women. You want to attract young women to your film. But you're showing something that's not real. Instead of elevating this character, you're talking about men putting down women. We have that crack about the cockpit. Why do you think it's called the cockpit? Wow. Wow. These people have got a really low view of men. They really have. Let's not forget, one of the directors was a man. See, there's a situation going on within Hollywood now. Well, obviously, they claim publicly they want to represent women. They want to uplift women. I just think they're doing women a disservice. This film actually does women a disservice. When I listen to Brie Larson talking publicly, she really doesn't understand. She doesn't seem to understand the real obstacles women face in the world today. Women being raped, murdered and tortured. Women in third world countries being mutilated. I never hear her talk about that. She seems to be interested about being asked for her phone number and things like that, little petty things, right, that shouldn't come into this. But if we go back to the movie, it's like this movie is using themes that she's spoken about, and it's like she's had some kind of responsibility and interaction to what goes on in this film. For me, that's really, really troubling. Ultimately, this film is the empty vase. Do you remember the empty vase? Do you remember the poem that guy in Friends writes about Monica? Basically, in this film, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, is the empty vase. There's not much going on here. Even the way she talks, I'm fed up of you telling me what I can't do. It's the way she talks. She doesn't come across as a very intelligent young woman. For me, that's very, very problematic. And, you know, the natural comparisons to Wonder Woman are there. Wonder Woman was DC's first female-led movie, right? DCEU's first female-led movie. And Captain Marvel. Who is Captain Marvel? Her comics are not popular. They can't sell them. I know this because I watch videos by people who own comic book stores, who have had comic book stores. I'm not talking out the shell. They can't shift this character's comics. They've rebooted her umpteen times. She used to be quite popular when she was called Miss Marvel. Then they changed it. You see, since Disney have taken over Marvel Comics, the mentality and the agenda has changed. Now, they don't really understand how to inspire young women. They don't get it. So what they do, they write young women who naturally get things easily. They're never challenged. They think that's what gender equality is. But of course, we know, well, we don't know them, but we know the stories of the great feminists before we were born, fighting and dying to get equal rights. Imagine that. Imagine that now Hollywood female actors come onto Twitter and moan they're not getting paid the same, and then they get the same money. That's not bravery. Of course they should get the same money. But what I'm trying to say to you is the mentality in this film isn't even feminism. Even if you're triggered by feminism, even if you're triggered by the feminism in this film, it isn't proper feminism. When you watch Wonder Woman, you see a young woman grow and take responsibility for her actions and earn the right to become a hero. She wants to fight. You don't get this in there. You do not get any ownership in this film. This character really has a great origin story in this film. It really is. But it's dumbed down. This is a dumbed down film. This is not a bad film. It's not a great film. It's just a film. It's a stepping stone. It's all about Endgame. They've created this character. And there's a hilarious moment, right, where we find out that the Avengers Initiative is named after Carol Danvers because her nickname was blah, 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 Avenger or Avengers or whatever. I can't remember. It's a while back when I saw the test screening, right? But at the end of the day, this is when you bastardize a franchise. So everything's about her. It happened with Clara Oswald on Doctor Who, if there's any Doctor Who fans watching. Oh, Clara met the Doctor when she was a little boy and she gave him confidence and blah, blah, blah. She was the whole universe. She was reshaping the Doctor Who universe. And now we've got Carol Danvers, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, reshaping the whole of the MCU. And this is what these people in Hollywood, living in their bubble, think feminism and gender equality is. Women who are offended about having the door opened for them by men. Women who are offended because a man asks for their number. A man who asks a woman to smile. Hey, I get it. It's not the nicest thing, but I genuinely believe when someone asks someone to smile, it's because they just want them to see people happy. It's not because they're trying to stamp on their cloud or anything like that. But what my point is, these people's mentality is not about women and girls being raped, tortured and mutilated. It's about a guy asking them to smile. And this is the mentality in this film, because everything they do points to that mentality. Isn't it lucky when you've already got Samuel L. Jackson in your franchise and you've got this film coming out, this origin story? So instead of having the origin story rely on its own character, instead of having Spider-Man rely on his character, every time there's an origin, they force feed a big Marvel Cinematic Universe character in that origin story. So of course this film's going to make big money because it's the precursor to Endgame. It's part of the most successful IP in movie history, and it's got Clark Gregg in it and Samuel L. Jackson. How can you go wrong? These are two of the most popular characters in this IP. We haven't seen Coulson in an MCU movie since Avengers Assemble. Of course people are going to go and see that. Of course people want to see Samuel L. Jackson as Fury again. He hasn't really had a lot of screen time in an MCU movie for ages. So you've got Samuel L. Jackson in this film. It's just amazing to me. And again, I go back to Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman did a clever thing by casting Chris Pine. But he wasn't an established DCEU character. He hadn't been in other films. I think, and I genuinely believe this, and I've said this about other MCU films, I believe shoving an established franchise character in an origin story is cheating, because you guarantee success and you're not challenging yourself, you're not challenging your audience to come in and watch something. And this is why these origins make so much money. So when people say to me, ooh, Captain Marvel's had a bigger opening than Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman came after two of the most divisive films in film history. One of the most divisive films in Batman v Superman. And that film still did well. It did well on its own merits. This film is not going to do well on its own merits. It's doing well on the merits of what Kevin Feige has built up, right? He's got one of the most popular characters, most popular actors from this IP in this film. So this character isn't allowed to stand on her own feet. We talk about feminism, but literally Carol Danvers is leaning on Coulson's and Fury's shoulders for the whole of the film. In the case of definitely Nick Fury. So nobody actually knows why people are coming into this film. But I tell you what, you take Nick Fury out of this film, you take Samuel L. Jackson out of this film, and I wonder how many people would have come in for this movie, right? You take away the fact that Avengers Endgame is weeks away, right? The most anticipated CBM in CBM history. How well would this film do? But this film is doing well. It's a great opening. But this film has zero rewatchability. This film's big story in terms of box office will be in its failure to get people to rewatch the movie. There's going to be a big drop-off next weekend, I'm telling you. And I've done a video about this. Check it out. It's called Captain Marvel to have a big drop-off, right? Or whatever it's called. You'll find it there. I only did it yesterday. So what is this film? What does this film represent? People tell me this is an important film. You don't just stick a female in the lead role and say it's an important film. That character has to earn the right to make it a big film, and it's not. It is like your favourite TV show having a filler episode. It's nothing. It's about nothing. The best things about this film are Ben Mendelsohn, because Ben's brilliant in everything. Basically, all the great actors in this film are in fourth gear, and that's including Brie Larson. Brie Larson isn't challenged in this film because, again, it's the mentality of Hollywood gender equality to say she's a girl and that's enough. We don't have to flesh her out. We don't have to give her nuance. She just has to be there and that's it. And people can say, wow, she's kick-ass, she's amazing. Brie Larson's not challenged in this film. Now, a lot of idiots will do reviews and say, oh, the acting in this film's really bad. Brie Larson is a bad actress because they don't like her. They don't like what she has to say. That's not true. There's no bad acting in this film. It's just the way that actors are directed and written for. It really doesn't give a challenge to the artists, because the artists are cruising through this film because there really isn't anything to get your teeth into. Excuse me. I just choked on Brie Larson. Sorry, Brie. But anyway, right? The point is, this film doesn't have a Michael Shannon performance as General Zod. This film doesn't even have a Jesse Eisenberg performance as Lex Luthor. And I know some of you don't like him in that film, but at least he had something to get his teeth into, right? Now, Wonder Woman didn't have the strongest of villain. In fact, Wonder Woman has 3 villains in it. And they're not the greatest of villains because that film is literally about the character journey. And at least you can give it that. But I'm wondering about Captain Marvel's Carol Danvers' journey in this film. What is the journey? What is the point? This is a fish out of water movie. This is about a character in a strange land that's not her own. She can't remember who she is. She's getting flashbacks. This is a great bridge to create a great story. But still, it's underwhelming. Still, it doesn't work. Still, she's a very serious character. They're scared to do anything with this character. And this is what happens when you misunderstand what you're trying to do. You want a female-led movie, but you're not willing to challenge the female. Neither the actor, the artist, or the character. And in the end, you have a ball of fresh air that will be watched and forgotten about. And that's it. I've seen critics say that there's lots of potential in this character for future films. Potential's all well and good, but why not put the potential into this movie? The truth of the matter is, they did it on purpose. They made this film this way on purpose. There's so much hype around this movie, both positive and negative. Ultimately, none of that matters. This film is going to make enough money. It will drop off very quickly, but it will make money. Maybe I'll make $1 billion, maybe I'll make 800 million, who knows? They'll be happy, right? But at the end of the day, we are living in an era of Hollywood without memorable, good movies. The MCU is the biggest thing available to you to see. Is that what you want? Generic films every year. Where are the good films? Where are the films that challenge us as an audience? They're not there anymore. And you know why? Because Disney have killed the movie industry with mediocrity.